What's up, you dirt bags? We are here with our first rant segment. Luke, you texted me a couple days ago. You said, can we do a recording tomorrow night? Got a little topic I want to rant about. So here we are. We're sitting down. We're going to rant about it. The topic, you texted me. Literally, it says, I have a good topic, loving where you're at. The next text, diving deeper and enjoying the moment. And I was like, dude, let's go, because this is something I'm very passionate about. But I'm curious to hear your side of it, since it must have kept you up at night because you texted me like, we got to do this tomorrow.
Dude, it did. Like I can't remember quite what I was thinking about now, but my wheels were turning. But the two topics, right? Loving where you're at and then diving deeper to enjoying the moments, right? I think it kind of stems from social media right now. And I see it all the time, and I see it through, workers, through other businesses, but they're so eager for the next step that they don't really enjoy and learn, where they're, from their current state. And I feel like a lot of people miss out because of that, because they're comparing themselves to other people on social media.
Yeah. And I mean, at any stage in business, and I guess this would be more for a business owner, you're going to be at a certain phase, no matter what, whether you're starting up, whether you're scaling, whether you're giant and dealing with people problems, no matter what, you're going to be at a certain phase. So my thing is like, why not like enjoy each phase at, that you're in? And it's easier said than done, obviously, but I think a lot of it comes down to how you perceive certain situations. And you can't just be that negative person that anytime something bad happens, it's like the whole world is falling on you. Like, you have to find some of the positives and where you're at, and honestly, like, make light of some situations. I think some people are a little too serious. And I think they're just chasing something that by the time they get there, they're not going to be as excited, and they're going to look back and say, man, those were the good old days.
I don't think people learn enough in today's industry. That's kind of my thought process of it. I think everybody is so excited, whether it's a bad day or a good day or whatever. You always hear the term working for the weekends. Why the fuck are you working for the weekends? What good happens on the weekends, right? It's just another day. Why would you not work for today? What do we have at today? That type of shit. You had mentioned the good old days. I have never seen it, but I remember it's the quote, and it's, how do you know you're in the good old day, or how do you remember the good old days, or whatever the fuck it might be? How do you know when you're in the good old days when you're in the good old days? I think is how it's phrased, or something
Like that. We'll have to
something like, I don't, people, yeah, whatever. I mean, people are going to criticize, and I don't exactly remember because I've actually never seen the show, but it's I get that. It's like, how do you know that you're in the good days, right? People don't take that step back, and they don't observe, and they don't learn where they're at, because, say you do have a really bad situation. I get wanting to just have it be done so you don't have that headache, but I don't think a lot of people step back and are like, what can I learn from the situation? What can I take away from the situation? You might take away something, but I'm sure there's a lot more that you can take away that the eye, can't see. You have to kind of invest yourself in it a little bit.
Yeah. And it's different for everybody too. I love that point you made about learning. One of my favorite things, and we didn't start it to be this, but is podcasting, because every single podcast we're learning, whether it's just you and I talking, or we have a guest on, or we host a webinar, like no matter what, every single time I'm learning something, because we're sitting here talking to somebody else. And so I think I didn't really realize it until maybe a few months ago. I was like, damn, we've kind of come a long way, at least myself personally, of just knowledge in the industry. And there's so much more out there. But to me, that makes it more exciting to wake up for work every day, because I'm enjoying what I'm currently doing, but also preparing myself to continue to grow and learn and shoot for that next goal, but not have my sights only on that goal. Because I don't know, I know a lot of people don't like to celebrate where they're at, but I don't mind doing it for a couple minutes. It's just like, taking a look at, damn, it is pretty cool, how we got to this day right now, 28 years old, and then XYZ, what you're proud of. And I think that just comes down to being grateful and gratitude of what you do have. And no matter where you live, what job you have, all your issues that you have, you can always find like 3 things that you're grateful for. And so I think focusing more on that really helps me enjoy like where I'm at today.
Also the appreciation, right? You can take that step back and appreciate what you, your team, and everybody has built. That's where you can really learn, like, okay, are we making the right steps? Where are we succeeding? Where are we failing? That's where, again, and I'm guilty of it too. I do not take enough time in the moment because I'm always pulled different directions. I'm always looking towards, okay, what do I need in the future? To where I do need to take a step back and be like, what are today's problems? What is the task at hand today, not tomorrow?
Yeah.
And maybe, oh yeah, now I kind of remember the point
Here
of
we
this.
go.
Oh yeah, light bulb. Enjoying the moment, right? This brings me to, I want to say that looking too forward in life gives people anxiety.
Yeah.
I want, that's got to be a leading thing with people with anxiety. They're looking too far in the future. They're creating scenarios that haven't even happened yet, and they're stressing themselves out.
They don't even exist.
They don't even exist. So yes, this is where this conversation had come from. Oh, hell yeah. Bingo. What the fuck are we stressing about things that haven't even happened yet?
Yeah.
I see it all the time. People stress themselves out on the job sites or whatever the case, because they're looking in the future and they're worrying about the future when nothing has even happened, right? Take today at face value. What can I do today to help the future? I'm not going to worry about the future. I'm going to worry about what the fuck I'm doing today.
Yeah. Dude, that is so true. I just think of, I think there's some truth to being proactive and, being prepared in situations, but it doesn't mean to psych yourself out so that you're creating these negative scenarios when they haven't even happened. It's like, okay, then it's for sure going to happen to you because you're just speaking that into existence, or at least thinking about it. And then it probably is going to happen because, like you said, your anxiety levels or your stress or whatever is on your mind, then you go out and do it. And it's probably going to happen because of that.
People automatically think worst case scenario when they think of situations, right? So why would we create a scenario that hasn't even happened? Why would we worry about a situation that hasn't even happened, or a scenario that hasn't even happened? It's only killing your mentality, right? So if you really step back and you enjoy the moment, you enjoy where you're at, people will be a lot happier. They'll probably have a lot less stress and they won't be as anxious. The whole side of mental health in the construction industry, I'm no psychiatrist, I'm no doctor. Again, I don't understand what people go through mentally. I've never had mental issues, problems. I guess I'm lucky in that aspect. So I can't speak for people on that end, but I feel like I know if I were to do that, it would help my stress levels to where these people that are very, anxious, or they have, very, very, low stress tolerance or whatever the case may be, that could probably help them.
Yeah. So I'm going to structure this question for like a business owner. So in your experience, and this isn't tackling like mental health, but more of just like strategies to maybe have a more positive outlook and enjoying the present moment. Like, what would you say to a business owner that, in construction, that is kind of going through that right now, and they just seem like every single day is just negative, and where it starts to spill over into their relationships and their family life and their physical life? What would you just like recommend, or what do you do?
Well, that's a good question, because I am guilty of looking far, into, not far into the future, but looking into the future. But I do think a business owner, you do have to look a little bit, right? Yep. But you do have to be fully present, to where I do see a lot of people almost removed from the day because they're so worried about what's happening tomorrow. I think if you have a good schedule, if you sit down and kind of create a schedule on like a Sunday or a Monday morning, and you have an idea of what's going to happen on the week, you can look ahead that week. That's fine. I think it's when you start looking at, 1, 2, 3 months into the future and you start worrying about that, that's what kills your mood. That's what kills your productivity. But if you were to take a week at a time, or a day or two, whatever the case may be, I feel like your operations will be a little bit tighter. Maybe that would be the right word. So that's a good question, because I don't know how to tell other people to do that, because I still struggle with it, because business owners they're pulled everywhere, right? You can't just sit down and figure out a schedule and be like, this is my only worry, because
Yeah.
you have so many things going on in the day. But I think you got to prioritize the time to make it happen, whether it is on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah. One thing I just wrote down actually as you're talking is control what you can control, and then
Yep.
focus on those things. Because if you start, like we're talking about, overthinking what could happen, you don't have control over that in that moment. And so one thing that pops into my head is out east, I believe it was the Northeast last winter, snow was terrible. There's only a few inches. And so a lot of guys really hurt from that. And so I think, what is the line between being strategic with your business strategy, and also what is your line of like worrying about something that you have no control over? So I think you can prepare for another shitty winter, or you can just worry about it, and that's just going to drag you down as well.
Yeah. Yeah. What does worrying do? Nothing. But if you do prepare, if you do, there is a good to have kind of a constant reminder of like the past, right? This could happen, right? This hasn't happened yet, but the option of it is there. This has happened. I'm not going to stress myself out. I'm not going to put myself in a fucking coma when I think of this, right? But I'm going to do what I can to learn the lessons that I learned in that present, in that time when it was really hard, and help transition that in today's business.
Yeah. How do you think your mindset as a business owner has changed? You started the business in 2018, from like when your first few projects to probably midway in like 2021 to now. Like, how has that progressed or regressed?
I don't want to pat myself on the back, but it's definitely progressed, because as your business grows, you have to grow with your business. And it's almost kind of like a forced maturity.
Yeah.
You have to mature yourself quickly, because as you grow in business, once you get past that, smaller size company and you do get into these bigger projects, you got to be game on. You got to have systems in place. You got to have your schedules. You got to know what everybody's doing, right? You have to have that full picture, and you got to help control that picture. So when you start out in business, you don't understand what, some of these bigger companies have, and you don't understand their mentalities or, even their systems in place. But that's, again, going back to loving where you're at and kind of enjoying the moment. You get to learn that whole process.
Yeah. A big piece of it too is just as you mature, you build confidence. And if you see that's a weakness, that is what you need to work on. Is like, okay, as we mature through business, through this job, it becomes easier the more confident you are and the more knowledge you have, with repetition as well. And so it's like we've all done it. We've all started a job, and the first 2 weeks, it's just like it's so overwhelming. It's kind of scary, and you're like, damn, is this even the right decision? But then 6 months in, you're like, exactly what you're not exactly, but you know what you're talking about. You know where to go, the questions that you're going to be asked and how to answer them. And so that's the same thing with business. Like, you are going to have that startup phase, you're going to have that growing phase. But if you're not maturing as an individual, as a human, I can see that's where the confidence may lack. And that's where you may fall, is if you're not growing with your business. And I think adversely, your business grows because you as the leader are growing as an individual.
You have to look at it as you have to grow with the business has to grow, and the people within the business have to grow within the business. You got to have some sort of growth plan for everybody that is under that business roof.
Yeah. And that's probably the biggest struggle right now for most construction companies, is how do we get our employees on that growth plan, because they're leaving every 6 months or something like that. Obviously we talked about that in Doug's podcast, Doug Castles, and he's just trying to keep them for at least a year. And it seems like he just keeps going through them. So I think that's a big question. It's like, how do you get them to see that vision and see their own growth? Not necessarily like the business's growth, but how can they grow within themselves in that confidence, that maturity, and see that vision?
They got to love where they're at. They gotta love the industry that they're in. They gotta love what they're doing. They gotta love the process. And there has to be some initiative to understand the process more. You can't go into it as, well, I know everything. I did this, many years or many months, whatever the case may be. You got to have some initiative to learn, want to learn, and the ability to take constructive criticism.
Yeah, that's a big one. The constructive criticism. There's some people that don't take it well, and but that's good. I mean, you realize it may not be a good fit, but one thing we're doing at Phaser right now is going through our core values, and it's been awesome. Like, because not only is it who we will hire have these core values, it's also who we will work with. And so obviously we partner with construction companies. And so if they don't fit our core values, it's just not going to be a good fit. And obviously that is a blessing to be able to kind of pick and choose who we work with. And I know it's not like that for every business, but if you kind of hold that standard, in my opinion, I think you're going to be a lot happier because you're working with a lot more people that hold those same values.
I agree. So what did we learn? Love where you're at. Enjoy the process. That's what helps build companies, business owners, and employees.
Growth and maturity as well. Work on yourself. I've seen it firsthand. It's like the more you focus on your relationships, your family life, your spirituality, your mental health, it seems to translate over into your business as well. And that only grows with it. So yeah, man, just not taking a day for granted, just being thankful and grateful for where you're at. Right. Each day, write 3 things you're grateful for. It takes 2 minutes. It's super easy to do. But that can really help shift your mindset.
And step the fuck up and do hard shit.
Let's go.
Let's go. Dirt Bags Rants.